Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the South African Fantasy Football Podcast. Long break we had, but a lot of football still to watch. How are you guys keeping?
And even more football coming up, especially with some big news dropping today by the Premier League in terms of some fixture changes. So excited, and I don't know how much of the cup football that you guys watched this weekend, but I watched a reasonable amount, more than I'm used to watching from a cup football weekend.
To be honest, I also caught a lot more than I usually watch, particularly of the FA Cup, and it was nice to see some fun games.
Yeah, Accrington Stanley. I learned a little bit about their history. I mean, usually when you play PlayStation, you play FIFA or
Mm.
EAFC as it's called now, and you accidentally go from Premier League down the divisions, then Accrington Stanley is usually right at the top, and that's the only time I ever heard of them. And apparently, it's only the first time in my lifetime that Liverpool played them. So happy we got
Wow.
the win, and the Cup didn't show any of its magic in that game.
I
Yeah,
was just enjoying, especially after Spurs extra time game against Tamworth, which was a shocker to watch personally. So I hope none of you guys caught that game. It was painful.
no, give
But
us
what
give
was
us a
actually great
summary.
is no, so I think the Spurs players were probably not interested in playing. Seemed very like lethargic, because it's a non-league team effectively, right? Tamworth, so they didn't seem interested in playing, and they were lazy. And Timo Werner had some easy chances that you'd expect him to put away, but in true Timo Werner fashion, just shot wide of the goal. But it actually ended up going to extra time, and then I think Kulusevski came on with Son, and then three goals quick after in extra time, and then I think they sealed it there. But the most entertaining part was Arsenal fan TV blowing up after the game last night against Man United. Wherever you went on Twitter, you'd just see clips of AFTV and people losing their minds with Mikel Arteta. So that was a very entertaining, especially some of the refereeing decisions that happened in that Arsenal United game. It was disturbing to say the least. You can see referees need to get a little bit more practice not using VAR anymore, because some of the decisions were really disappointing this weekend. But I don't know. I'd still rather have this than have some of the VAR blunders that we've been seeing.
Yeah, Arsenal's form and fixtures is something that we did want to talk about. We just want to talk about Arsenal in general. What do you guys thought on how they're playing?
It looks like when they lose one key player to how they want to play, they seem to lose form in totality. If you look at Odegaard was out, they changed their style of football to play very defensive, and then until he came back, they started looking good again. Now Saka out injured again, and again they look a shadow of the team that they could be when all of their first team players are fit. So I think just one or two injuries really upsets their rhythm, which is scary to, especially as an owner of some of the assets, to actually keep. The fixtures don't look horrible, right? Spurs at home is usually not a terrible fixture for them because they have a good record at home. Villa a little bit tough, but you think at home they should see them off, right? And then they've got Wolves, Leicester, and West Ham in the four games after that, with
Yeah.
City in between. So you think they'd still perform really well, but my confidence in owning them, because even if they're playing against some of the weak opposition, they just don't look great.
So from an FPL point of view, what I'd like to point out is that they don't look like they're scoring a lot of goals. So from
Mm.
offensive asset, they don't look that great. Defensively, they're still good, and a lot of their defensive assets get attacking
Yeah.
points. So I think there's still room for
But the
them there.
expected goals, yeah, I think the expected goals conceded, I think is like zero point 0.3 per game at the moment, which is really low, right, for a
Yeah,
team that's playing against decent Premier League opposition. But the problem is it's so low and they're still conceding goals. And I think
yeah.
that's the worry for the guys that are owning the defensive assets. So I think Gabriel's still a great option, because he scored again in the cup, to be honest. So you know that he's going to give you attacking threat as well as the defensive solidity. But what's been putting me off is that I've got double Arsenal defense at the moment, and I'm actually looking to get away from that at the moment, because holding Timber plus Gabriel at the moment, with Arsenal not pushing as much forward as they used to previously, I'm not as confident in holding a pair of assets, especially defensive assets, that's not keeping a lot of clean sheets either. So I think the guys holding, like, I think Raya Gabriel's a quite a common combination if you look across the leagues,
Mm.
for a lot of people. So I think doubling up is a little bit risky at the moment, and I think doubling up, I guess across teams is becoming a problem, because this season I'd actually like to check the stats of how many clean sheets we've actually had this season compared to previous season, because it does feel much lower than before. Because before you'd always have one or two teams that you could rely on for a clean sheet almost every week, but this season it's a little bit, it's not ideal.
No, definitely. Okay, you can't rely on
There's
City
one
assets as
team
well.
to rely on for clean sheets at the moment, and that's Liverpool's biggest title challengers, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah,
Massive
True,
game tomorrow.
yeah.
true.
Because 4 in a row, right? 4 in a row for
Yeah.
Forest in terms of clean
Yeah,
sheets. So they saw, but I always get scared when a team keeps 4 in a row because they could very quickly go on a run of conceding goals, in 4 games in a row.
yeah.
But
6 wins
I think
in a
it's
row,
good
I
to have
think.
one asset. Yeah, I think it's good to have one asset.
I think
If
I
they
think they're
get
going to
a
concede.
seventh win, I don't know if it's in all competitions or in the league, but I heard if they get a seventh win, it would be their longest ever winning streak.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean they beat us at home, so cannot say it's going to be an easy game.
Never
Razim,
say never.
what are your thoughts on Arsenal in the sense? I just want to hear from you. Do you think they're going to bounce back? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride over the next few fixtures?
I think it'll be another good season at the end, but not good enough. And I think it's going to be like enough is enough from Arsenal fans because I'm sure they'll bounce back like eventually. Like it's going to be up, down, up, down. Eventually they'll get a good string of games, but I don't see them coming in the top two this season anymore. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
tough. I think it's not going to be easy. And now City found
Mhm.
form again, and the way some of the other teams are playing. But the biggest shock about this fixture list that you've got up is Brentford still being a red in a
Yeah,
red block, which is like
Yeah.
known as a tough fixture, considering they were knocked out of the cup by Plymouth Argyle. Well, they
Yeah,
were right.
they bottom of the championship, Plymouth.
Yeah. So a good 20 plus, 25, maybe 30
Mm.
points place gap between the two teams in the league standings. Doesn't matter. So that's the magic of the FA Cup that
Yeah.
I'm glad Liverpool didn't experience. But
Yeah.
Liverpool are playing Plymouth Argyle in the next round.
Which I don't think they'll see a similar fate.
let's hope not.
Fortunately, I think they should be strong enough, even with the rotated team. But I mean, talking about Brentford, their fixtures look majestic from game week 25 onwards. I
Yeah,
think they're done with
Indeed.
almost all the big teams for a second time. I think they have a good chance of actually putting in really good performances or having some of their assets. So planning for Mbeumo or Wissa, I think from like game week 24, 25 onwards, I think is a really good idea if teams want to
No,
consider
from
it.
27, no? Don't, who do they have now?
So
Brentford have
they've
Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and
City,
Spurs in the
Liverpool, yeah.
next
City,
six.
Liverpool, and Spurs
City,
and
Liverpool, yeah.
Palace.
City, Liverpool, Palace, Spurs, then West Ham, Leicester,
Yeah.
Everton.
I think you can actually start bringing Brentford players in from game week 23 if you load it up on your
Yeah,
double game week assets because
Mm.
I think Palace away is not a bad fixture. Spurs at home is not a bad fixture. And then West Ham, Leicester, Everton are great fixtures to be owning Mbeumo for, especially with the fact that he's on pens.
yeah,
Makes it very exciting.
yeah. I have a plan to bring him in, but it means taking out Fernandez. And looking at United fixtures, I actually don't want to lose Fernandez in game week 26 and 27, Everton and
Yeah.
Ipswich. So I'm going to try and figure a way to get them both. Um, before we will talk about some long-term planning, but a quick talk about West Ham and Everton, both now with two new managers. We discussed it earlier in the week about Sean Dykes and the West Ham manager Lopetegui, who's both got sacked. Everton surprised me, but I mean Moyes is back, which is good, and I think
Mm.
I think
Nice.
I hold Potter in high regards. I think he's a great manager as well, so I expect them both to do better.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. But
What a
I
good
can't trust
start
West
for
Ham looking at
Potter,
the
though.
fixtures, to be honest.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
West Ham got Fulham and Palace. It's good enough fixtures for them to have their new manager bounce back with. Both of the teams they both got them at home, so I think
But the squad, West Ham's injuries at the moment's not great,
yeah,
right? They've got Bowen
Bowen,
out, they've
Antonio
got
is still out.
Antonio out, as well as Fulkrug now out for another 3 months. From what
Oh,
they've said
dear,
this morning. So
again.
I think West Ham are in trouble. Yeah, he's out. He did his hammy, I think, over the weekend. So I think I think they're going to struggle with attacking players at the moment because it's pretty much just Kudus and Paquetá left. Then Danny Ings is the only fit striker at the moment.
Don't
So
write innings
I
off,
don't know how they're gonna.
man.
Yeah, no, I've written Danny Ings off for a while now. I think those days are gone. But I mean, he could always surprise. But I think Fulham are a little bit worrying at the moment. But hopefully they get some defensive organization sorted with Potter. Maybe they'll be
Yeah,
able to get some results. Everton also fixtures aren't fantastic, but I think with them just having that double there makes them a little bit more attractive, or some of their assets a little bit attractive. But I'd like to see how Moyes sets them up first, especially over at Villa and Spurs in the next two, because at least with Leicester at home in the double, having a Everton asset might be a good idea. But I mean, I don't even know who's really fit there. But I mean, one guy that I've been considering and thinking about is Ndiaye
Yeah, me
because
too.
he was on penalties this weekend,
Yeah,
especially with some of their players out. So he becomes a decent option as a striker, and I think he's like 5.4 or something. He's
he
really
is
cheap. So
5.4. He is 5.4.
mm,
The problem putting me off him is just who's going to start, who's going to play.
true.
Um, and I
We'll need to
think,
see over the next few.
yeah, because if Moyes favors Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when McNeil comes
Yeah,
in, his place almost seems solidified.
correct.
Then you don't know who's
That's
going to
true.
drop in and rotate. But India has been
Yeah,
there. I feel like he's been there, one of their best players attacking
this
wise.
season, yeah, right.
I think defensively they got some good defenders. So probably Pickford and Trakowski has been, and Brentworth
Brathwaite, yeah.
Brathwaite, sorry, been solid picks. Um, yeah, the only other thing I wanted to ask is, do you think, like, City got some difficult fixtures on, so I think they still an avoid in this sense. Like, I wouldn't rush to bring any City assets in just yet.
Yeah, especially with Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool in that stretch of 4 games, especially in Newcastle in between. That's 4 really tough games for them. So I think if you've got City assets, you probably hold up until Ipswich away. But then I guess for the next 4, they probably actually next 5 because then the Spurs there as well, they don't have a good record against anyway. So it becomes a tough run for them. But you think after game week 27, you pile in on Haaland afterwards because
Yeah,
it's a decent run and until the end of the season because they're done with 4 of the standard top 6 that
yeah.
you
And
you consider.
the other ones, just to note, if anybody's wanting to bring in players looking at certain teams, Brighton got a good round of fixtures. Crystal Palace as well.
And
I think
Newcastle. I think
Newcastle
Newcastle have a great run.
and Manchester United.
Mm.
It seems like, I mean, Southampton at home is a great fixture, and then Ipswich away in 27. I mean, Ipswich at home as
I think
well.
with
So
United,
beating
you just gotta find all the red fixtures and bring their players in for that because that's when that team turns up. When you see a bit of green and grey fixtures, you don't get as excited any longer.
Hey, let's see. So we discussed this last week where I'm actually on a wild card. So I have my wildcard team up and I sent it to you guys as well. It's just I am gonna make changes. I think I'm gonna take Savinho out. I think I'm gonna take possibly Watkins out as well because I have
Yeah, I was gonna
Rodgers.
ask, is Watkins worth it?
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna take Watkins out as well. But looking at the team, who do you guys think that should be in there that's not?
I think Chris Wood instead of Watkins, if you're looking long term there. I mean, as much as obviously the entry point this week's not great with Liverpool, but I think Wood from a long term perspective is probably worth it. I see you don't have any. Oh, you've got Milinkovic on the bench, which is quite nice. Does
Yeah.
Hill for Bournemouth? He doesn't play, right?
He's
Consistently.
3.9. Yeah. The other thing
Is he a filler? Because then
he's
you
a
need to just be considered when a bench boost comes at some point
yeah
in the season. You probably
he
need
is
to
a
get Hill.
filler, and my main hope is actually to bank up a few transfers. But look at um, the Chelsea defenders because there's a 4.0 defender that's played twice now, but I don't know how long term he's going to play.
Chimpong or something. I know
Yeah.
that guy. Yeah, I've
But
seen
the
him.
other thing is if I
And
drop
they're in the market for a right
yeah
centre back at the moment, so it probably isn't a long term one.
if I drop Watkins or Mateta, it frees up a lot of funds.
Why don't you rather go for Jacob Greaves instead of Hill? Because Greaves is back in the Ipswich starting lineup and he's also 3.9.
It's just got hard fixtures,
Yeah.
really hard fixtures.
I think your defense is fine. Konate, Munoz, Robinson is three of the defenders that I want in my team. And I'm also, I guess, plotting some of them as well. But are you comfortable going 0 Arsenal defenders? Like
That's
not
the
even a
thing.
Gabriel for
I tried.
the attacking threat.
If I change the team around a little bit, I can get 6.2 free with Hill out. So not even
Okay.
losing any of my defenders. But I can't get any good Arsenal defenders. Saliba 6.3, Gabriel 6.4. I don't really want Timber. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking at it as like I definitely want Arsenal defenders. I just feel looking at their fixtures and looking at their form, I don't think it's like necessary
It's not a
right
must
now.
at the
Yeah.
moment. You just always have this feeling that they'll go on a clean sheet run at some point in
Yeah.
time, but probably not worth it.
But it's right now.
There's one player that That seems essential to me now. If I were on a wild card, it would probably be essential to me. And Bilal is actually at the top of your watch list. So I don't know if you want to show your watch
So
list and go to that before you come back to our teams.
let's go
That's
to that
true, yeah.
because I actually really want to talk about him because there's been a lot of talk about him, and I actually took him out of my team. I wildcarded mainly. One of the reasons was to get him out. So Trent, I'm sure that's the player you're talking about, and there's been a lot of talk
Yeah,
about him.
100%.
I mean, he had a horrible game against United, but
But he
judging
scored a
he's still
banger
is-
in the cup, and he was
Yeah.
captain, and he just had that aura about him, on the pitch. And he's the guy,
He's
and he
the
came
guy.
off early.
I see a lot of people are talking about his minutes. Regardless, he's going to start. I think people are being stupid to say that Bradley is going to start because they play Trent in the cup. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh,
I think unless injury-wise, he's going to start. The only thing is his minutes may be watched, which is what was happening at the start of the season.
in the start of the season when Bradley
Yeah.
was fit, yeah. He
The-
will be a minute's risk.
The only thing is he's 7.2. He's not on corners. Even the direct free kick Salah took, but I think that was just because of the position of where it was. It was suited to Salah more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look that great. Like he looks great.
I think he's been very influential in the last few games, to be honest, and especially the games that he hasn't started where he's come off the bench. I think he's
I
been a very
agree.
influential player. I think he's becoming more of an influential player now than he was earlier in the season. Because at the start of the season, when his minutes were being managed, he was playing. I mean, you wouldn't see him cross the halfway line as much. I think Slot has tried in the recent few weeks to try and make him much more influential in the game. I mean, look at the West Ham game, pretty much ran the show there. I think even in the United game, even though defensively he probably wasn't up to scratch, going forward and stuff, he was really influential there as well. And I mean, especially with the goal this weekend, I still suspect he's still important enough at this point, and especially with the double coming up, that he's probably worth having because I think he will get decent returns, and I suspect he'll be the highest scoring defender potentially by the end of the season.
I don't know. I just feel like he's not as in Slot's system. He's not as like on the points as he was on the Klopp. He's not on the corners, so his assist potential has dropped. He's playing well. There's no doubt, and on his day he's the best. But he's getting the ball across, and the ball is coming back in across. So he either gets the ball to Salah, and Salah gets the assist, or he gets the ball to Gakpo, and Gakpo gets the assist, or in that manner or form. He is more influential in the build-up play.
Yeah, I think before the West Ham game, I would have agreed with you. I think since then, and some of the games I've been watching much more closely, I think he's more involved than he was early in the season. So
I just see him getting more goals than assists, and I don't feel like the goals are
Yeah.
going to come as often as the
No, he's
assists were
crossing.
coming.
He crosses every few minutes. The ball is in the box because of him. I just feel like as soon as you get one header that goes in or one ball that drops and goes in, it's just going to start flowing again.
Yeah.
And I also, in terms of your team, I just feel like if you're not going to get Trent in for Konate, then I think you're going to have to get Gabriel in alongside Konate. I don't think you should
Yeah.
go without any premium.
It is a thought. It is a concern. But actually, I wildcarded mainly like Trent being one of the reasons. So,
Yeah.
because
I-
your
I-
considerations at the moment with Munoz and Robinson, they're not long-term picks, right?
No,
I mean, they are for, I
Munoz
guess,
is-
the near future. But
Munoz
Munoz
is
still about
for-
game week 29. I
yeah.
think they've got great results, but eventually you're going to need to get rid of them at some point in time. Where
Yeah.
if you've got a likes of Trent and Gabriel, you hold them regardless of the fixture they have, right? Because they'll
Yeah,
stay
they
up
fit
until
you
the end of the
too.
season.
But when you
Yeah.
say that, I mean, Liverpool look like they still conceding against the big teams.
They are, yeah.
Arsenal, I'd say if Arsenal beat City, it's going to be 1-0. Like I can tell you that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I just feel like Liverpool are going to concede. I feel like they're going to concede. Trent is going to get 0 points like last time. It's not ideal.
I think with Konate fit again, I suspect they will start conceding less. Like they went on that run
Yeah.
when he was fit. Him, Van Dijk, Robertson, and
Now Alisson
Trent
is
were in
there
that
as
team.
well.
They were very consistent with Alisson there as well. I suspect they might go on a run. But I mean, if you're covering from a clean sheet perspective, Konate, but remember, Konate also gives you attacking threat from set pieces because I think they've lacked a little bit in attacking set pieces since Konate's been injured as well. So I think it's okay, but I just feel like I wish if I had better team value, I would have also been pushing to get Trent in my own team, but I'm currently like 0.2, 0.3 short with some of my plotting.
Hmm. I'll look at it. I'm gonna refresh the teams. I don't think I'm gonna bring Trent in. I actually feel like I think Konate is the one that I'm most comfortable with in terms of the price point and what he gives me. But I think
No, he's on
if
my watch list because he's
yeah,
affordable.
if Liverpool get a clean sheet, say they win 1-0, Trent usually gets bonus points, which is
Yeah.
always nice to have. And Van Dijk is the second one, so I don't think Konate is a bonus point machine. But for price point, for value, I'm going with Konate.
I think if you're
Munoz,
using the funds better elsewhere in your team, I think it's
yeah,
worth it. I think it's
and
okay.
that's the hope. Munoz is another one. Palace in general. I had a draft where I had 3 Palace defenders, which was actually a terrible draft because
Wow.
I had
Wow.
Munoz is 4.7. I had Henderson who's 4.5, and I had Chalobah who's 4.4. And if you actually look at, I think Daniel Munoz has 61 points in total. I think Chalobah has 50 odd points in total, and he's played
Yeah, because he's
8
got 2
games.
goals.
He's played 8
Yeah, he's
games
got 2
less.
goals. Mm.
So he's got a good goal threat. The only problem is the bulk of his points have come in clean sheets. When he's been playing, they've been getting clean sheets. Munoz has got quite a few attacking returns as well. So I'm in between who to play.
And Munoz has been missing like shocking chances
That's
when
the
he's been
thing.
playing, to be honest. Like you'd expect him to bury it. So like it's inevitable that he's going to get one of those chances and he's gonna put it away, especially with some of the opposition they have coming on board. I mean, look at Leicester this weekend. It's gonna be wild.
But I'm hoping for a Palace form. And
Mm.
actually, why are we talking about Palace, Momusim? Let's get into your watch list because you got a lot of strikers and you got Mateta as well on your watch list. And I want to know your thoughts on him because I'm not convinced on him, but I have him on my team.
I'm not convinced on him, but I'm chasing a slight differential pick within my team, especially the fact that his fixtures are looking really decent and he's also on penalties as well. So that's kind of what's the appeal on him at the moment. So I'm hoping that because I'm convinced Jackson's going out this week. It's just a matter of who I take out Jackson for. I do want Chris Wood, but at this point in time, I think it's a terrible entry point for Chris Wood this week. So I'm considering Jackson down to Mateta, especially with him playing Leicester this weekend. So I suspect there'll be a lot of chances there. And then hopefully next week, if I'm still not feeling João Pedro any longer, I want to potentially upgrade João Pedro to Chris Wood. So that's my consideration.
That's a good thing. I mean, Southampton, great fixture for Wood.
Mm.
The
So that's my plan. But I mean, I think Palace is still a little bit risky to be investing in. But that's why, like in my mind, I'm torn between either Mateta or Munoz and not both. Because I also want to get rid of Timber this week because I'm tired of the double Arsenal defense. So I'm likely making 2 transfers. It's pretty much Jackson and Timber, the guys on the chopping block. So I might consider both of them out potentially, and then freeing up some funds for other moves in the future.
Okay. Yeah, so striker problems. It seems like there's a lot of strikers in that mid 7 range that are not underperforming, and a lot of cheap
And
strikers
and Jackson's
overperforming.
fixtures are decent, and that's the thing that's actually bugging me because his fixtures are still okay. But the problem is, I feel like as soon as I take him out, he's going to go on a decent run. But I'm just so frustrated that even if he goes on that run, I'll still be okay. Just having him out
Yeah.
of my team.
Speaking of Chelsea, did you catch the FA Cup game?
I watched bits of it.
Because people were raving about how João Felix played. Apparently, he had an
And
amazing game.
Kunku missed a penalty.
Yeah, and Kunku didn't miss a penalty.
Nkunku's getting sold.
No, he has to. He's been looking apparently to move, but I don't think anything's materialized for him as yet.
No, it'll probably go end of the season. Um, but yeah, he's not looking. Maybe confidence and injuries has been his problem. But
Probably.
I mean, preseason he looked good. But there's always that one player preseason looks amazing, and then start of the
Doesn't
season.
play.
But Chelsea, just in general, like I'll be wary, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on them, particularly after that FA Cup result. I saw
Yeah.
some crazy I saw a fan talking about selling Cole Palmer to Manchester United is their solution, And
Wow.
he gave this whole talk about how if they sell Cole Palmer, Joao Felix can take that place, and they'd be content with that, and they'd use that money to. I think it was. I don't know who. It sounded like they were bringing a player from Manchester United there. So I don't know who it was, but
I don't. Oh no, Mainu. They're looking at Mainu.
yeah.
They want Kobe
Okay,
Mainu
so
in their team. I
that
remember.
was the
Yeah.
one. So Palmer for
Yeah.
Mino, and some of the Chelsea fans were happy with that. I thought that was a bit
I don't
odd.
understand how people can rate Joao Felix as a footballer. I mean, yes, he looks a little bit exciting. I just think it's the hairstyle. That's why he gets the rating, to be honest. I think he's a ridiculously overrated footballer.
Yeah, but I think Cole Palmer, he's indispensable at this point. And I think
Hundreds.
if anybody comes in for him with anything under that 100 million, it's a bargain. Like he's
Yeah.
that price. He's that young. He's that influential. A quick talk about the double game weeks, because that's something that was just released now today for game week 24. We spoke about Everton having less than Liverpool, but Liverpool have Bournemouth and Everton. Would that be a definite triple up, would you say?
I think so. I think you can triple up on Liverpool, but it just depends. The problem is Liverpool attackers are so risky at this point in time because they're all going to get rotated at this point in time. Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, Nunez are not going to play 2 games. Like it's hard to convince yourself that they'll play 2. But I was actually looking at the fixtures, to be honest, and when the actual second game is. So I think that game week 24 is on the 1st of Feb, right?
Yeah.
I think the actual game is only a week and a half later, because between the first game against Bournemouth that Liverpool play against, so they'll play Bournemouth. They've got Plymouth. No, so they play Bournemouth on the weekend. They've got second leg of the Carabao Cup midweek. They've got Plymouth Argyle, and then they only play Everton in the midweek. So to decide on the Liverpool players there, because you think that they'd go strong against Spurs in the Cup, rest a lot of the players again in the Carabao Cup, and then go strong against midweek in Everton. So I think it actually might still be worth going Diaz and Gakpo, because I suspect at the moment they are the 2 favored options alongside Salah in that Liverpool front 3. Nunez, I think especially the fact they didn't get a goal against Accrington Stanley probably pushes him down the pecking order there.
Yeah.
Jota's fit, so he might obviously have a say in that, but I think Gakpo, Diaz are your safest bets if you want to go 2 Liverpool attackers, or your second Liverpool attacker, and then I think one of the defenders. I think if you've got Trent, you generally sorted. But I mean, if you don't, covering him with Konate or an Alisson, for example, at the moment is not a bad idea.
Yeah,
because both should be quite guaranteed.
If you want to play it safe, then Alisson, Trent or Van Dijk or Konate, and then Salah. That's the safe play. But I'd also be leaning towards. I think Gakpo is a great option, and if you have that mid-range striker that's not performing, he's an easy get in. It's an easy route in. You must forget about the managerial chip as well, if you want to slot in as that. But I'm not too keen because 26 is City. I'm not too keen on that. And if I'm bringing 3 Liverpool players in, I'll be targeting potentially. You can target potentially from game week 22, Brentford, Ipswich, then Bournemouth, Everton, and Wolves, and then I wouldn't keep ideally 3 players against City and Newcastle.
Yeah, you might be over there, because I guess by the time the City game comes, you can probably get rid of one of the assets and then move them on to someone else as fixtures turn. So yeah, it's actually not a bad idea. But I think assistant manager chip on slot that weekend is risky because of but I mean, you can change your manager along the way. So I guess you can have slot for the double plus game week 25 and then use the transfer to get rid of him for that City game and bring someone else in. So it's actually still not the worst plan.
We have our last.
Keeping money for that now with your wildcard, or are you going to be spending all your money now on players?
No, I'm spending it all, and then the plan is to get Fernandes out when I need those funds,
and then bring in a 0.5 million manager, because we're not about that 1.5.
I'm going Everton for mine. Moyes. No,
that's exciting. I mean, I'd love to go with the cheaper ones as well. I mean, just to be punty, it's exciting.
100%. That's exactly where my head is.
That's where I'm going. I'm going to have fun with it. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to go boring. I'm not going to go slot. I don't think so. Just for the fun of it.
What if everyone thinks like that and no one goes slot? Then maybe I just go slot and beat everyone. That could be
I think there's just so much upside in the managers that are cheaper, to be
yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
especially because where their teams sit, there's ridiculous upside. So that's actually what's exciting me more than
Yeah,
anything
like I
else.
mean, it's worth bringing in one of the managers from the lower like clubs, like Manchester United, for example, because you never know
100%.
like where they're gonna who
No,
they're gonna play and
100%.
who they're gonna beat above them, you know?
Because he's been at a reasonable, I think he's 0.8 at this point. So I think he's a really great price, to be honest.
And so, I have this week's fixtures up. We don't need to really talk about them because we've been looking at the fixtures this whole time, and we wanna end the show pretty soon. But the last thing we have to speak about, Razine, unfortunately, is Liverpool's Carabao Cup. What were your thoughts on that game?
Mohamed Wasim has a bit of a chance here after the 6-3 we really gave it to him. So I'm going to let him have the mic. But before he takes the mic, I just want to let him know that the men with the mic at the stadiums are the ones that cause these issues
They
whenever we
didn't.
play.
No, you must go read the rules, bruh. So did you listen to no, but did you listen to Andrew's post-match press conference around the second yellow? So and he said that it's stuff that's happened to Spurs, I guess, throughout the season. So he got the clarification rule from the refs saying that I think they say if it's not a cynical tackle and play goes on, they don't revisit it for a yellow card. And that was the reason that the Bergvall one wasn't revisited as a yellow card, even though advantage, I think, was played at the time, or some, like, I can't remember exactly what the wording
He
was.
should have stopped and
But
he should have
but
got a
but
card.
for me, at the end of the day, is the rules are just so messed up that, I mean, as a fan watching the football, they've convoluted the rules so much that you lose your head over things like this, especially like small decisions that happen here and there, where like it makes sense for the person to have been like sent off the pitch at some point in time, and then that pain of them going. We had the same issue again, I think it's Fulham in the league, where Lukic took a player out on the halfway line. He was already on a yellow. Straight after that tackle, the manager subbed him. His replacement came on and then scored the equalizer in that game, which is painful because they would have effectively been down to 10. The other player would have never come onto the pitch, and it's crazy how confusing the rules are, especially by how complicated they've made like the game. And I think Andrew also said, I guess, in some of his conferences this week, is that it's just being it's the game is not refed on the pitch anymore, which is unfortunate. And that's why referees feel like they can let things go because they feel like there'll be some retrospective action that happens later where they don't take control of the situation in the game. And there's a lot being let go instead of actually dealing with it on the spot. And I think that's what VAR has potentially caused that uncertainty and doubt where, I mean, as much as the penalty for the United game did happen, those will happen and even out eventually. But the VAR decisions just feel so corrupt at times.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't make sense, which is unfortunate. But I think the Premier League's got to, at some point in time, take a stand and get the quality of refs up, because there's been some shocking decisions over the past few weeks that's been very disappointing to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's only half time in the tie. I think
It is. No, I mean it's at Anfield, right, at the end of the day, and Spurs don't have a great record there. So hopefully Slot says I've got to worry about Champions League and I want to try and go through in the FA Cup and worry about the league. And he says leave the Carabao Cup. I'll play the kids.
But
Who wins from a trophy? I don't think he's gonna say that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he will either. I was very surprised Salah started, to be honest, that game. I thought I thought he went much stronger than I expected him to.
But
to
we
be
got
honest.
lucky that it was FA Cup immediately after and no league game.
Yeah.
But
it'll be exactly the same
situation.
Yeah, I think that's why it's very favorable. Spurs, we have it a little bit difficult because we've got Villa on the weekend, but I think in the semi-final we'll take precedence over anything, to be honest, and hopefully we'll have put centre backs to play against, which was surprising for Liverpool. I mean, they scored 6 against the same defense the last time, right? So to score 0 is quite disturbing, especially with the guys that they had on the pitch. I was very surprised.
But it'll be a good game.
If it were to be Spurs versus Newcastle in the final, it would be something very, very, very fun.
I won't watch. I won't watch. I don't think I'll watch, just because I know the pain that I'm going to experience in that game. Because especially with our recent record against Newcastle, it's just going to be painful
it's
to
a cup
consider
final.
watching
You
that
never
game.
know. You never know.
Yeah, no, you have to watch
Cup
at the end of the
final.
day, but it's just
No, maybe it's just written for Ange to get his first trophy and to bring Spurs their first trophy in how many years? Like
but
15 years.
it could be Eddie Howe's written for Eddie Howe to give Newcastle their trophy after so many years as well, right? It's two teams that have been on a trophy drought for years and years. So it'll be ridiculous, but let's see if they even get there, right? There's
Yeah.
still Liverpool
We
to
Still a
get
lot
will
of
through.
defend
football.
our title. We will defend our Carabao Cup title, and Slot
It's
will win his
still
first trophy.
it's still Liverpool
Then
to get through, yeah.
But thank you guys
Hopefully
for
someone can two-foot Salah this weekend or something just to break some confidence. But
Liverpool, Arsenal. Arsenal are playing Newcastle, right? They lost 2-0.
Arsenal, you got 2-0, yeah, that was a
The
sad because I mean
Liverpool Arsenal
that's going to impact some blank game weeks in game week 29
Yeah.
as well, right? So
that could have been a much
we'll have to
higher score as well. Newcastle were on the
Yeah.
ball.
But Arsenal also missed a lot of chances, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they
And
Havertz missing. Yes, he was shocking this weekend
Yeah.
and against Newcastle. They literally went out of both cups. Or well, Newcastle is not guaranteed, but I mean, I don't expect Newcastle to concede 3 against Arsenal in the reverse leg. But the way Havertz has been causing it for this club has actually been scary.
But watching it, like, I feel it's a little bit harsh on him. Like, the United goalkeeper was amazing as well. Like,
Nah, man, that guy is not serious. He's not a serious footballer.
He's
Kai
not, but
Havertz.
he's not a number 9, and that's what
No, he
Arsenal are
isn't.
missing. I
Yeah.
think I think they just recruited very poorly. They needed a number 9, and Ivan Toney was there for the taking. Would have been a different league. Would have been a different league.
Yeah.
Good luck for
Good luck for the
game.
midweek fixtures.
Don't miss that midweek deadline, folks.
Ish, that's true, huh? It's less than 24 hours away.